wasn't dramatic. It wasn't lipstick. It wasn't mystery perfume. It was silence. My wife, Madison, had never been quiet in the mornings. She used to hum while brewing coffee, talk about her dreams, tease me about how slowly I woke up. But for the past few weeks, she moved around our apartment like she was trying not to wake a child. I'd lie still, eyes half open, watching her tiptoe through the closet, smoothing her hair with unusual care, checking her reflection twice, sometimes 3 times. She wasn't getting ready for work. She was getting ready for someone. I tried to ignore it, try to believe stress could reshape a person this much. But marriages don't fall apart all at once. They come undone thread by thread, routine by routine. She'd started leaving earlier, coming home later, laughing at jokes I never heard, checking her phone with a protective tilt of her wrist, as if an incoming message might burn through the screen. We still shared the same space, but I felt like a tenant in my own life. One Thursday evening, she rushed through the door, cheeks flushed, hair tousled in a way a workday shouldn't cause. Long meeting? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She blinked too fast. Yeah, super long. Everyone stayed late. Everyone. She nodded, but her eyes flicked sideways, the way they do when someone's building a lie mid-sentence. That was the night I stopped pretending nothing was wrong. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I started watching instead. Her routines changed. Her mood shifted. She acted guilty only when she remembered I existed. Even our intimacy faded. Not dramatically, but quietly, like someone dimming a light one turn at a time until the room is dark and you can't remember when it happened. I missed her. Not the version she was now, distant, polished, anxious, but the woman who used to fall asleep on my chest after laughing too hard at a terrible movie. I missed the love I thought we had. But the universe doesn't hand you answers. It pushes you toward them. And the final push arrived unexpectedly. I had stopped by her workplace to surprise her with lunch, something I used to do before things changed. I walked in the lobby, bag in hand, hopeful in a way that hurt. Her boss, Alan Porter, stepped out of the elevator, adjusting his tie. He froze when he saw me, his expression shifting from polite to startled to something unreadable. "Caleb," he said slowly. "Everything okay? Just bringing food for Madison." I smiled. Thought I'd brighten her day. He hesitated. "She's not here." My stomach twisted. "She left early?" He hesitated again. Longer this time. Too long. "She requested the afternoon off," he finally said. I nodded, pretending it didn't punch the air out of me. But it wasn't the lie that broke me. It was the look on his face, like he was choosing every word with surgical precision. Like he knew something. Like he'd been part of something. And then everything snapped into place. Her new perfume. Her new routine. Her new smiles she never shared with me. I didn't storm out. I didn't yell. I didn't chase her. Revenge isn't born in anger. It's born in cold, careful clarity. So I went home, opened my laptop, and typed the one name I knew would unravel everything. Paige Porter, Alan's wife. I didn't know what I expected, but when she messaged back 10 minutes later with, "We need to talk. I've noticed things too," my entire world shifted. Because this wasn't just suspicion anymore. This was confirmation. This was two strangers staring at the same betrayal from opposite sides of the same broken window. And by morning, everything would be set in motion. A trap both of them would walk into with their eyes wide open. Paige Porter arrived at the cafe before I did. She sat in the corner booth, sunglasses on even though we were indoors, stirring a cup of untouched tea. The moment I walked in, she looked up, her face tight, her jaw clenched like she had been practicing holding herself together. "Caleb?" she asked, standing to shake my hand. Yes. Her grip was firm, but her fingers trembled. She wasn't guessing. She wasn't assuming. She already knew. I slid into the booth across from her. The atmosphere felt heavy, thick enough that speaking took effort. "Thank you for meeting with me," she said quietly. "I'm not sure I should be thanking you," I replied, "but I guess we're in this together." She gave a short, humorless laugh. Together. That's one word for it. I watched her, how the tension sat on her shoulders, how exhaustion framed her eyes. Betrayal ages you in ways the mirror never warns you about. Paige took a long breath. I wasn't sure if I should say anything, but when I saw Madison's name on Alan's calendar, repeatedly, outside normal hours my instincts kicked in. So it wasn't just suspicion. She shook her head. "No." I confronted Alan once. He brushed it off, said it was work, said I was imagining things. He's good at lying when it benefits him. I nodded slowly. Madison's gotten good at it too. That hurt more than I wanted to admit. Paige pulled out her phone. I started documenting things. Not because I wanted to spy, but because I needed to know I wasn't losing my mind. A series of screenshots slid across the table toward me. Calendar entries, messages, work trip confirmations that didn't match Madison's explanations. Yesterday, Paige whispered, Alan canceled his evening meeting, but he didn't come home until after midnight. And that was the moment something inside me solidified. This wasn't insecurity. This wasn't overthinking. This was betrayal with planning, intention, and opportunity. But revenge, real revenge, isn't a burst of anger. It's strategy. It's patience dressed as calm. I leaned back. Paige, are you prepared for this to get ugly? Her eyes hardened. It already is. We talked for an hour, going over timelines, comparing stories, connecting dots that neither of us could have linked alone. When the pieces came together, the picture was unmistakable. Alan and Madison weren't just crossing lines. They had practically erased them. But Paige wasn't here to cry, and I wasn't here to collapse. We were here for clarity, for truth, and for justice, the kind that doesn't require yelling, breaking things, or ruining our own dignity in the process. Caleb, she said softly, what do you want to do? I didn't answer immediately. I thought about the promises I had made to Madison, the nights we stayed up talking about our dreams. The trust one believed was unshakable. And then I remembered how easily she broke it. I want them to see exactly who they've been hurting, I said finally. And I want it to happen in a way they can't run from. Paige nodded slowly. I want the same. We paused when the server brought our drinks. Neither of us touched them. Then Paige leaned in. I know someone at the company who can help us discreetly. The firm's legal advisor, Derek Vaughn. Why would he help? Because he hates internal scandals. And he hates Alan even more. That was useful. Before I could respond, Paige's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and stiffened. It's Alan, she whispered. He's asking where I am. Does he know we're together? No. And he won't. Not until we want him to. Her fingers hovered over the screen before she typed. Running errands. Be home later. A simple message masking a war. I waited a moment. Paige, when Madison came home late yesterday, she looked different. Disconnected. Almost nervous. And now that I know why, I'm not angry anymore. She lifted a brow. You're not. No, I swallowed. I'm focused. Anger burns fast. Focus burns slow and reaches deeper. Paige stared at me for a moment, then nodded. Good. Because this needs to be handled smartly. We spent another 30 minutes planning, strategizing, aligning our stories, preparing for a confrontation that would be precise, controlled, and unforgettable. By the time we stood to leave, I felt strangely steady, like a storm had passed through me and left only clarity behind. Tomorrow, Paige said quietly, Alan has a management briefing. Madison will be there too. And Derek. I asked. I'll bring him. He'll know what to do. We walked out of the cafe together, not as allies, not as friends, but as two people whose lives had been twisted by the same betrayal. Outside, the wind cut through the evening air, and I watched Paige disappear into the parking lot before I climbed into my truck. I sat there for a long moment, gripping the steering wheel, breathing deeply. Everything was shifting. Everything was unraveling. But for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to purpose. When I returned home, Madison was already asleep, her phone glowing faintly on the nightstand. I looked at her, really looked. Her peaceful expression, her steady breathing. The woman who once vowed she'd never lie to me. And then I looked at her phone, buzzing with a muted notification from contact saved under a name I didn't recognize. I didn't open it. I didn't snoop. I didn't need to. Tomorrow would reveal everything. And she had no idea what was coming. Morning arrived with a strange quiet, the kind that settles before something breaks. Madison stood at the mirror, fixing her hair with more care than usual. She wore a fitted navy blazer, the kind she reserved for important corporate meetings or days she needed to impress someone secretly. You're up early, she said, almost startled when she noticed me watching. I nodded. Couldn't sleep. She paused, then turned back to the mirror. Today's a big day at the office. Alan wants everyone on the leadership team present. We're reviewing the new quarter. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled ever so slightly as she clipped on her earrings. Right, I said. She glanced at me with the smallest flicker of guilt, or maybe fear. It was hard to read anymore. Every expression felt layered, rehearsed. I'll probably be home late, she added lightly. Maybe don't wait up tonight. It wasn't a question. It wasn't even a request. It was a warning she didn't realize she was giving. I stepped closer and kissed her forehead, watching her stiffen from the unexpected gesture. Have a good meeting, I said softly. I didn't tell her I'd be there long before she arrived. I didn't tell her Paige would be there too, or that Derek, the company's legal advisor, had already arranged everything we needed. Madison smiled thinly, grabbed her bag, and walked out the door. The second it closed, my entire body exhaled, and I got to work. Paige texted me the moment I started driving. Paige, Derek reserved a small conference room. We'll meet there first. Alan won't know until we're ready. I typed back, on my way. By the time I reached the company's parking lot, Paige and Derek were already waiting. Paige wore a composed expression, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. Derek, however, was calm, lawyer calm, a man who had seen enough corporate storms to predict the destruction pattern. Caleb, he said, shaking my hand firmly. I've reviewed everything Paige forwarded. What we're doing today is well within your rights. And frankly, something the company needs to address. Paige nodded. Alan thinks he's untouchable. He won't expect this. Derek led us into a side entrance, so we wouldn't be noticed. The building buzzed with employees preparing for the morning meeting, oblivious to the quiet collapse brewing one floor above. Inside the small conference room, Derek closed the door, set down a thick folder, and looked directly at me. Before we begin, he said, I need you to know, this isn't about revenge in the dramatic sense. This is about truth, clarity, and consequences. Are you ready for that? I swallowed. I am. He studied me for a moment, then nodded. Good, because they won't be. Paige sat beside me, her hands clasped tightly together. What exactly is the plan? I asked. Derek opened the folder, revealing printed screenshots, corporate logs, and Madison's false travel claims. Alan approved these work retreats and billed them to the company budget, he said. That alone is a violation. Anything personal that occurred during those trips is secondary, but still relevant. My chest tightened. So you think it's official misconduct? Oh, it's more than that, Derek said. It's a breach of policy, misuse of company funds, and inappropriate relationships with direct reports. The board will want answers. Paige inhaled sharply. And Madison, what happens to her? That depends, Derek said calmly, on how she responds when confronted. He slid 2 envelopes across the table. One labeled Alan, the other Madison. I didn't open mine. Just seeing her name, there felt like a weight pressing against my ribs. Derek checked the time. They should be arriving soon. We'll call them in separately. No yelling. No chaos. We keep it clean. I nodded, though a storm churned beneath my calm exterior. This wasn't the kind of revenge that explodes. It was the kind that cuts quietly. Through the small window in the conference room door, I saw Madison walk down the hallway, laughing lightly at something Alan said. My jaw tightened involuntarily. Paige's eyes followed my gaze, and she whispered, It's okay. Let them laugh now. Derek stepped into the hallway. Alan, he called. I need you for a moment. Alone, please. The change in Alan's expression was immediate. Surprise, confusion, a hint of irritation. But he followed. The door shut behind him. For 10 long minutes, Paige and I sat there, listening to muffled voices, a rising tone from Alan, a firm response from Derek, and then silence. When the door opened again, Alan looked shaken, his confidence drained, his posture stiff. He avoided both our eyes. Send Madison in, Derek instructed. Alan didn't argue. He walked out slowly, like someone carrying a secret he didn't want anymore. A moment later, Madison stepped inside. Her smile faded the moment she saw me sitting beside Paige. Caleb, she whispered, what were you doing here? Her eyes darted between us, panic flickering at the edges. Derek spoke before she could continue. Madison, please have a seat. She sat, trembling slightly. Did something happen? Is everything okay? I looked at her, not with anger, not with heartbreak, but with a level of clarity she had never seen from me before. Derek placed the envelope in front of her. We need to discuss a series of concerns, he said calmly, regarding your conduct and your recent trips with Mr. Porter. Her lips parted. Her breath hitched. For the first time, she looked truly afraid. And she should be, because this wasn't the confrontation she expected. This wasn't a shouting match. This wasn't an emotional explosion. This was controlled, methodical, bloodless, and it terrified her more than anything else. Madison stared at the envelope in front of her like it might burst into flames if she touched it. Her hands hovered above the table, trembling slightly before she pulled them back in her lap. "Caleb, why is this happening?" she whispered, looking straight at me. Her voice cracked on my name. I didn't answer. Not yet. Derek sat across from her with a calm, professional expression. "Madison, everything in that envelope relates to your recent travel claims, billing logs, approval forms, and schedule inconsistencies. Before you open it, I need to ask something simple. Were you fully honest with the company about those trips?" Her eyes darted between us. Of course I was. They were work trips. Mandatory. She forced a small laugh, but it broke halfway. "You all know how corporate is." Paige spoke for the first time, her voice low but sharp. "Then why did Alan tell the board those retreats never happened?" Madison froze. A full second passed. Then another. She blinked rapidly, like her brain couldn't process the words fast enough. "What?" she breathed. "That's not true. He approved them. He planned them." Derek slid a copy of the financial report toward her. "Alan claims he had no knowledge of any off-site retreats with you. According to him, you invented those trips and listed them as professional development expenses. It was a lie, of course. A lie Derek planted intentionally to see how she would react." Madison's voice rose in panic. "No, he's lying. He's absolutely lying. This was the exact moment the truth typically breaks open in someone. The moment the story they practiced in their head can't keep up with the pressure of a real question. And she finally cracked. "He told me they were private retreats," she blurted out. "He said it wasn't official company travel, but that we needed the time to." She stopped herself abruptly, her face draining of color. Paige inhaled sharply, but she didn't say a word. Derek leaned back. "To what, Madison?" She shook her head, pressing her palms against her eyes. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "I'm sorry. It wasn't supposed to be anything serious." I finally spoke. My voice came out quieter than I expected, but steady. "How long?" She winced like the words hit her physically. "A few months." I nodded without emotion. "While telling me you were overwhelmed at work. While asking me to trust you." Her voice cracked. "Caleb, please. It wasn't about love or feelings. I was confused. Alan was supportive, and you were busy, and I leaned forward. "Don't blame me for a choice you made." She exhaled shakily, tears forming rapidly. "I'm not. I swear I'm not. It's just, everything happened so fast." Paige finally said what I couldn't. "You both lied to your spouses," she said. "You both hurt people who actually cared." Madison broke then, fully, visibly. She covered her face, shoulders shaking. And for a brief second, I almost felt something like sympathy, until I remembered the nights I waited alone for someone who wasn't coming home. Derek cleared his throat. "Madison, the company has decided to suspend you and Alan pending further review. Neither of you will access your systems until the investigation is complete." She nodded slowly, too drained to argue. "And regarding your marriage," he added gently but firmly, "Caleb has already taken steps." I reached into my jacket and set a sealed envelope in front of her, the divorce papers Derek had prepared days earlier. She stared at it in disbelief. "You already decided?" "No," I said. "You decided when you chose someone else." Her tears spilled over. "I can fix this. Please, we can go to therapy, we can talk, we can start over." I shook my head. "I'm not here to fight with you, or about you. I'm here to end what you already walked away from." The silence in the room felt heavy, final. Madison wiped her cheeks with shaking hands. "I didn't think you'd ever do this." I stood. "That's the problem. You thought I wouldn't see my own worth." Paige rose too, her presence grounding the moment. Derek gathered the documents calmly. "We're done here." Madison's eyes followed as I stepped toward the door. "Caleb, please don't leave like this." But I didn't look back. I walked out of that room lighter than I had in months, because revenge wasn't about destroying her. It was about reclaiming myself. And by the time the elevator doors closed, I finally felt free.